don't know what that was.
Yeah, that was weird. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bass and Brews, your weekly distraction from high-quality podcasts. I'm Alex. He's Paul. Tiffany's down there. We're going to talk to Tiffany in a minute. Welcome to Bass and Brews. Hope you're enjoying your day, your evening, whatever fucking time you listen to this silly little show.
Welcome to Bass and Brews, your weekly distraction. From
I already did all that.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
Yeah, that's the worst. Hey, if you want to help
You're
support
muted.
the podcast...
Alex,
No, I'm not. Shut up. I can see that I'm not. Damn, he almost got me too. If you want to help support the podcast, head over to patreon.com/bassandbrews. And you can help support the show there. That'll also give you access.
Nope. Fuck the show. What are they actually supporting?
Well, they're going to support
to
some, like, we're using the funds right now. We've got less than 2 months till I head down to North Carolina. Paul and I meeting for the first time, like star-crossed lovers. We're going to camp. We're going to howl at the moon. It's going to be a good time.
We're going to sing some Journey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love some Journey. Oh, we're going to do some like midnight karaoke.
Don't stop believing.
That's right. That's right.
Not midnight. We don't want to get kicked out of our campsite. If we have to show up at my house at Saturday at 1 o'clock in the morning because we got kicked out, my wife won't be happy.
I just want to know which one of y'all is a small town girl.
That's Paul. That's Paul. Yeah, that's Paul. He's definitely a small town girl.
My town still doesn't have 800 people in it.
It's definitely
town I grew up in. But look, also, y'all understand we're doing a live podcast on site at the campground that weekend. So you can catch the podcast live Saturday night, April 12th.
Yes.
Live.
Hey,
or
are we doing that like a live?
As long as the internets are interneting,
yeah.
Yes. We'll figure it out Friday. Right now we're planning on being live. I'm bringing my Wi-Fi booster. I'm going to have all the stuff we need.
Maybe do a test run, because maybe what we do is you have to go to patreon.com/bassandbrews and become a producer of the show, and then you can get access to the live camp episode. Maybe, yeah,
No,
trying to get a little change in my pocket.
For everybody, we are not depriving our guest from a live podcast where we meet for the first time. Tiffany, I don't know if you know this, but I have been telling Alex I'm a hug a fart out of him when we meet.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna practice Friday, and then Saturday night I'm gonna make sure it works.
We got to figure out. I've got some leads on some equipment, but we're gonna try to rig up like a one of those heat cameras, like a thermal, and real close up so we can see if I actually fart. Because we'll be able to see it on the thermal camera.
Well, no, they're either gonna hear it or I'm gonna break you. I'm Drago and Rocky. I will break you.
All right. Well, we've got Tiffany. If you guys don't know, we've got Tiffany on the show. TxBassBabe.
Not Tiffany. Thank you. Okay.
Can I finish? Thank you.
You can. Go ahead.
So, if you guys don't know, we had Tiffany on the show in November of 2021. Was the first time we had her.
Not we.
It was just Paul. I was gonna get. Would you stop interrupting me, you sassy little bitch? You are being extra sassy tonight. Settle down. Take a little breather. I know. I'm excited too. But we got to let the information out.
Look, Tiffany's first episode was a quintessential part of Bass and Brews podcast lore.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It changed the shotgun round trajectory.
It did. It left to some of the most iconic and viral moments of the show.
Exactly.
Is due to Tiffany.
Do you remember, or do you know what we're talking about?
Beaver.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Tiffany, let me tell you something. Alex was not there. He listened to that episode, and I can't remember what happened, but he was like, we have got to add that.
Yeah.
And that question was added after that episode. And some of the best moments we've had in Bass and Brews podcast history have come from, do you eat beaver? And then the sandwich question.
Yep.
Well,
but Tiffany's reaction started the whole thing because it was of like, oh, you dirty fuck. And then Paul played it off perfectly of like, no, it's.
And it wasn't even in the end. It was like in the middle of the podcast.
So
was a good time.
you are in a club. We're the leader of the club, but there's plenty of people. We even had one 2 weeks ago. I thought Christine Fisher was going to slap us through the internet on the beaver question. We got Joe Cermelli from Cut and
He's a good
Retie
friend of mine
podcast.
now, so
Yeah.
You should listen to the episode. I don't know if you guys are friends. All she did was say
She
that you're
just
not
said they're fucking
competition.
good friends, Alex.
I said she
Quit
should listen to
talking
the
and
episode.
But you just said, I'm not sure if you're friends. And
After
2 seconds ago, she
It was
said
going to be a
we're
whole
good
bit
friends now.
about how. Never mind. He ruined it. He ruined it. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
No, you go ahead.
Listen, you're the one with the horse's hat. You're leading the charge.
Tiffany, I wore this for you since
What?
you're from Texas. I wore my
It's got horses.
I wore my horse hat
all right.
because you're from Texas, and everybody I know that's from Texas
Has
rides horses. Do
I
you?
don't, but I have ridden a
Oh
horse.
my gosh! No, I got to take this shit off.
I'm not a horse girl. I'm
My
a fish
first
girl.
question was going to be, have you fished off of a horse?
I
But
have
now you
not.
ruin it, Tiffany.
No.
The fuck?
That would be pretty cool.
Right?
Maybe
I-
like fly fishing on a horse would be really cool.
Ooh, that would take some skill right there.
Yeah.
Fly fishing off
Yeah.
a horse. You're in Texas.
I mean, that
Take-
sounds like some cowboy shit.
It
Hey,
does.
You're in Texas. Go talk to one of your buddies. Go to one of your ponds with 8-pounders and catch a fucking 8-pounder off a horse. That right there is the number 4 reason you'll go viral.
Catching
You know,
big fish off horse.
Look, fall in the water, shit your pants, hook yourself or somebody else, and number 4 is catch an 8-pounder off a horse.
I mean, I've fallen in the water plenty and I still haven't gone viral. So
you shit your pants yet?
no.
Well,
I mean,
Look-
Coley and I kind of went viral taking shots together, but
right.
was a
I remember
good one.
those. That was a
like
good
2
one.
years ago too. That's been a while.
that was it was longer than that. Yeah.
Is
It's
it?
got to be.
God, that
Yeah.
was a good one. That was a good one. Hey, you also talking about falling in the water. You have one of the best falling in the water videos.
Which
out
one? The compilation or the
there.
or the
No.
OG off the boat?
Yes,
The
off
OG. The
boat.
OG off the boat.
You just went straight. It's like you were walking the plank and didn't know it, and just went
Yeah.
straight in.
That was kind of a funny deal. Thankfully, it was super hot outside. It wasn't cold, so I had planned to get in the water at some point, just not that way.
Not that way.
Yeah, but we were drifting towards the dock, so I was gonna go push off the dock, and right when I did that, my friend Jay, he had a remote trolling motor. He moved the trolling motor to get it away from the dock, so it was like,
You missed.
and I had to make that like split second choice, like, you know, stay on or get off. Like I had that speed moment, and I was like, I'm just going straight down. I'll hurt myself if I try to get back on the boat.
Look, you made no splash. If that was an Olympic diving
Yeah, it was like-
competition, it was a 10 out of 10.
Well,
So you were
thankfully,
at,
I didn't hit the post. I didn't hit the boat. I just went
Right.
right between them.
There you go. I
and
mean, it's
then
always
swam
good
the
to
back
dodge
and
that
climbed
pole.
back in, soaked like a drenched rat.
we've got to add that to the list of bass events. So we just added 2. One of them is going to be the diving portion from the front of a bass boat. You got to make the smallest amount of splash. And then the other one's going to be like a triathlon of catching fish. You catch them in the boat. You have to beach the boat. You have to run and cast and catch a fish at the same time, and then jump onto a horse and then ride the horse and catch a fish.
I like it.
Yeah.
That would
The Iron Man Bassmaster series.
Yeah.
You know what? And here's the deal. If you get information from Doc Talk, you won't be DQ.
We won't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Get all the information you want.
All the information you want. You just got to do those 3 things and survive.
Well, to make it safe, I feel like we do have to add, okay, maybe not a full horse. So like one of those little miniature horses.
A Shetland pony.
Yeah, exactly. A Shetland pony. I
What
want,
is that?
it's a tiny
Little
mini
tiny little
horse,
fairy horse.
Alex, pull it up.
I'll pull it up. but I want to see someone like James Cox sitting on a Shetland pony trying to, work a swim jig. That's what I want to see.
What if we just did away with live ponies or live horses and you do the what
A
the
bike?
fuck is no what's the little thing where you have the little horsey that's on the horsey head that's on a stick that has
The
been going
hobby
around?
horse?
hobby
Hobby
horse
horsing.
Yo,
Fuck yes.
can you imagine Brandon Polinick hobby horsing with a flipping stick in his hand?
What would be your?
So do you have to hobby horse your fishing rod?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, you can
Oh,
use the
yeah.
rod as you're like jumping
Yeah.
around.
What if you had to hobby
break
horse? If you're in a tournament, you're in a triathlon bass fishing tournament,
Yep.
and you had to hobby horse one rod, one reel, one lure. Tiffany, what would it be?
It would probably be my G Loomis flipping stick with I got my SLX DC Shimano on there and my good old trusty Texas rig Senko.
Listen, Tiffany, you
Baller.
you're staying on brand, and I appreciate that, but you did not think this through. That's a heavier rod. If you've got to do multiple laps around this
My
pond.
G Loomis rod weighs like nothing.
Yeah, but you know what else weighs
Alex
nothing? A
doesn't know
BFS. A BFS rod
She
weighs nothing.
she's in fucking Texas, Alex, not New Jersey. She ain't fishing no fucking BFS. Ooh, those are cute little ponies.
All right, if everybody signs up for the Patreon, we can maybe buy one of these ponies, or at least rent it for the camping. Yeah,
Look,
yeah, we'll rent it for the camping
like the
trip.
kid's birthday party. Y'all are gonna have pony rides.
Exactly.
and this is it. If we get 100 people to sign up for the Patreon,
Well.
Alex and I will fly down to where Tiffany lives in Texas. We will rent one of these fucking ponies.
Look at
and
this
we will go-
glorious bastard.
I don't
We will
know
go
that these
fishing.
ponies can carry y'all's weight. Like
Whoa!
these are for like children to ride on.
Yeah, she called you fat, Paul.
They literally have these at like kids' birthday parties.
You know what?
Look,
Nobody likes a fucking
Look,
fat
all
joke,
children,
Tiffany.
all the children on the horse.
Hey, y'all want to know what's funny though? Alex's legs still wouldn't reach the ground. He looked like a child on there. Hey-o.
But at least it would work instead of your fat ass.
Tiffany, how tall are you?
Is that really a Texas thing? Y'all have never ridden a Shetland pony like when you were a kid?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I only rode real horses and good.
Oh,
women.
actually, no, yeah, I take that back. Not a Shetland, but like a pony, but not like an adult
Not
pony.
one of those.
Yeah, no, not one of those.
Hey, Tiffany, how tall are you?
I'm 5'4". I thought I was 5'3" like for the last 20 years, and then they measured me this week at the doctors and said I'm 5'4". So I grew an inch.
What happens if it's you know how people get shorter as they get older?
Well, I'm getting taller apparently.
Give it like 30 more years. Tiffany's gonna be 6 foot tall, playing in the WNBA,
Watch
just
out.
crushing it.
Yep, and Alex is going to be 5'1", which is 3 inches shorter than he is now.
Going
Little short
backwards.
bitch.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I tell you this. Tiffany was on 2.5 years ago, almost. It's been a long time. We had Tiffany on, obviously, with Bass and Brews. We're bringing social media people on. She was out there fishing from the bank in Texas, catching fish, making good content. And
Yeah, I don't even think I had a kayak back then.
no,
Nope.
no.
I may have had
my
my little lifetime,
yes,
but not like
Yep.
that.
Yep, but you weren't kayak fishing.
But I didn't have my Hobie yet,
Yep.
You're just a
And
peasant.
and now I got a boat.
we have graduated
Yeah.
to a Hobie kayak, fishing the Bassmaster Opens,
Yeah.
and now this year we have a fucking actual bass boat rigged out, ready
Yep.
to go take over the world. What we want to know is you jumped into the open, started jumping, why you jumped into the opens, and then how you got to a bass boat after that. Like what
Okay.
what does that look like?
So I started in 2021. I started tournament fishing BFLs. So that was my entry into tournament fishing, and I loved it immediately. Like this was for me. Like I was cut out for this. I was just ate up with it. And so I started fishing the BFL trail here down on Sam Rayburn is where the majority of them are held. And then some other lakes in that area, which for me is not close. I mean, it's about a 4.5 hour drive to get to Rayburn from Austin. So I make that drive pretty often. But I started fishing the BFLs down there. And then in 2022, they were holding one of the opens on Sam Rayburn. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to sign up for that open. And at that time, the opens was run a little bit different. They had different divisions, and the division I was in was called the Central Division. And so I decided, and it was 3 tournaments in the Central Division that you could sign up for. And I decided to sign up for the whole Central Division rather than just fishing the one on Rayburn. So I signed up for, it was, the first one was at Ross Barnett, and then Red River, and then Sam Rayburn. And yeah, that's how I got into the opens.
She says it really nonchalant, right? But her first open was the Ross Barnett one, right? And you took 3rd. After never doing an open, she comes out swinging.
Back of the boat.
Yeah.
Back of the boat.
And that, I mean, the thing about Ross Barnett, and I fared pretty well on Red River too.
Yep, 20th place.
Yeah, both of those were like grind fishing, like it was dirty, shallow, hot fishing, and that's my jam. I mean, Ross Barnett, I won it on a swim jig and a big skinny dipper swim bait. Or I got 3rd. I didn't win it, but I got 3rd.
Yeah.
And so, that it was just my style of fishing, and I kind of lucked out, and I've come to learn it's not that easy to get back on that podium with the trophy. Yeah.
So things have changed with Open starting this year, 2025.
Things kind of progressively have changed, and then this year, I mean, things really changed because they cut the co-angler program.
Right, the co-angler is no more. Yeah. But in the opens, those two years that you fished them.
I fished 3, so I fished 3 seasons in the opens.
Yep.
All right. So the 3 years that you fished, if you think about the tournaments you did good in versus the ones you didn't do well in, was it a boater thing? Like, did you have good boaters that you did good with, or bad boaters you did good with? Like, how did that go? Was it just kind of the situational of being able to fish without it being them picking off docks the whole time, or
yeah.
Like that?
So I will say, in the opens, and one of the reasons I really enjoyed fishing the opens, all my boaters were top notch and just super great guys. I never had an issue of being like, backboated. And I know some friends who have fished the opens who did have those issues. But for me, like, I never really experienced that in the opens. I've experienced it in other tournament trails, like in the BFLs and things like that. But for the most part, if I didn't catch fish in a tournament, it was my own damn fault. And if you're going to compete at that level, like, you just have to find ways to catch fish. So if your guy's live scoping, he's doing his forward facing sonar in the front and the boat's on high, like, you've got to just find a way to catch a fish. And I fished behind some of those guys. I fished behind Trevor McKinney on St. Clair, and I ended up cutting a check in that tournament, and he had his trolling motor on 10 all day. And, I had my opportunity to catch my 3 fish and I caught them, like, I didn't catch another fish all day long, but I had my chance and I got those fish in the boat, and that's what you have to do. But I mean, it was such a great experience. I understand why they got rid of the co-anglers for the opens, especially with the way it's transitioned, to the elite qualifiers and all of that. And there wasn't the numbers that they needed to make it fair. So I totally get it. The only reason I'm really kind of broken up about it is because it was such a good experience. And not just for myself, because for me, in some ways, them eliminating it has been the best thing for me, because it forced me to the front of the boat. It forced me to step out of my comfort zone and to say, okay, you need to stop fishing as a co-angler. Like, you've gotten that experience. You've traveled around the whole country and fished all over the place as a co from the back of the boat. You need to start learning to fish from the front of the boat. And it's a huge learning curve. I mean, there's, fishing as a co is here and fishing as a boater is here. Like, you've got to make that leap, that gap. You got to fill that. And so I still have a lot to learn before I jump into the opens as a boater. But you know, for me personally, I think it was a good thing because it forced me to get out of that comfort zone. For the opens, it kind of makes me a little bit sad because for others, like it's such a good experience to be able to go fish around the country, fish lakes, you know, you're not used to, and fish with some of the best anglers out there. You know, you don't really get that opportunity to fish with those guys who are top notch, and see what they do firsthand. I mean, even if I wasn't catching fish, I took it as a learning experience. You know, I watched every movement those guys made, every bait, the way they rigged it. I asked them a million questions and they tolerated me. And so, you know, I learned so much in those 3 years.
I remember when they announced that. I remember you making a post about how it kind of changed.
Yeah, so I had
for you.
I had registered,
right? Yeah,
and I was confirmed in the one of the whole division. So this year there's only 2 divisions, and it's 4 tournaments each. And I had paid for and confirmed for 4 tournaments already, and that was, you know, a big part of my tournament schedule for this year. And so it kind of flipped my whole season on its head.
All right, this is the question I have. Were you already in the process or wanting to get a boat to start that, or was them doing away with the co-angler side of it the catalyst that got you to go get your boat?
So I had actually I had bought a boat last year. I bought a really old kind of beat up Ranger. It wasn't beat up. It was in a good condition, but it was a 95 Ranger. So older.
It's just
I didn't have a lot of electronics on it. It had its original 95 Mariner motor on it, you know, that smoked, you know.
Never blow up. That bitch was smoked like hell, but you know what? That shit would get you there and back.
You know, it's the kind that makes you go deaf because it's a 2-stroke. Like, yeah, it's like, and then all the smoke's puffing out of it.
Motor barrel, some bitch.
Hell yeah.
So that I had bought that boat last year, you know, just so I could pay cash and start learning. And if I crashed it into a dock or I grounded on the ground, it wasn't the end of the world, you know. Like I
like it.
Hold on, time out. I got the 95 boat because I could pay cash, and if I could crash it into a dock, it would be okay.
Do you know what her plan was? No, her plan was she probably rubbed off the VIN numbers. Her plan is, wait, if she hits something important enough, she was going to literally walk away. She was going to jump in the water. That dive that she does, no splash. She was going to swim to shore and just walk and just leave that motherfucker out there.
I got a boat because I could pay cash and crash that bitch into a dock and be
hell
done
yeah.
with it.
I mean, but honestly, like I did not grow up with boats. I grew up, you know, fishing ponds, fishing rivers, and I just didn't grow up boating. Like I didn't know how to operate a boat until I started tournament fishing. And my boyfriend laughs at me about this because the first time we ever fished together, he had asked if I wanted to pre-fish with him. We didn't know each other at all. And so I went out to Rayburn, I hopped on his boat, we pre-fished. And literally that day, he was like, "You need to know how to operate a boat at a minimum. Like if you're going to be
has a heart attack,
you need to know how to work it out. What if there's an emergency?
Yeah, your ass got to get me back to the goddamn ramp.
It's a boat. You just steer
Nate
it.
that day made me drive the boat. Like here's how you operate it. Here's how the throttle works. You know, this and that. I shit you not. The next day, during the tournament, I get paired, you know, with my boater. It's a random draw. He gets us beached. Like it was a horrible day on Rayburn, like big old swells. He gets us beached and he's like, "Can you drive us off the beach?" And I'm like, so he could try to operate the trolling motor at the front to try to get us over the wave. And, you know, I had literally operated one time the day before. So
you didn't even know that. Do you know how to drive the boat? Yes, sir, I do, motherfucker. I can drive this bitch like a stone. I'm gonna run us into a dock.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna leave that bitch.
So, you know, fast forward a couple of years and
sure.
I've had to learn to operate a boat. And so that in itself has been entertaining at times and interesting. I
gonna
have
go
gotten
fish.
much better. I've gotten much more confident in my skills. I'm still in bigger water, like Sam Rayburn this weekend. You know, at times the weather was bad, and so, you know, I just made small runs because I wasn't comfortable running the length of the lake, which is, you know, 3.5 miles across. So,
Listen, if there's any advice I can give to any new boaters out there, and listen, I did 20 years doing search and rescue in the Coast Guard. My advice to everybody is when there's bad weather, just fucking gun that thing, close your eyes, and just hope for the fucking best, because the Coast Guard needs work. So hopefully you flip that bitch and they got to come out and get you. That's your Bass and Brews $1 million.
I want to go fishing. I
there.
want to go fishing with your boyfriend, because I've been on a bunch of my buddies' boats and none of them have been like, "Hey, drive this bitch, motherfucker." If they had a heart attack. I'd be good at giving them chest compressions and calling 911.
Compressions.
But if we got to get back to the ramp, look,
you can't drive a boat.
Bitch, yeah, I can drive it. I can drive anything. I'm country. But I mean, it's probably going to be worse. I mean, I'm probably going to throw them off the back of it. I back the trailer down. My eyes closed.
Paul gets back to the dock and they're like, "Why are you driving?" "My buddy had a heart attack." They're like, "Oh, bitch, yeah, okay, we'll grab him." And you're like, "I dropped him miles back." Miles.
I put a life jacket on him. I spray painted his head with some dip and glow. Like he's bobbing around. He's bobbing around like a fucking cork out there.
And he smells like garlic.
I was about to say, just use the smell of garlic to help vector you in.
When they find him, all the brim and crappie and shit have already eaten half the skin off of his face.
He's all confused. He's like, "I wasn't having a heart attack. I just burped. It wasn't. He just pushed me off the boat and stole it."
So what's your new boat? You got a new boat this year. You upgraded from the 30-year-old Ranger to a new Ranger. What are you rolling with now?
So I have a 2019. It's a 520C Ranger. So it's a 21-foot boat. It's great.
You know what? That's like 16 Alexes.
16 Alexes.
That's about right. That's about right. What did you name your boat?
Like 20 and whatever feet, 20.8.
Yeah.
Do bass boaters name their boat? I know that's like big for saltwater folks. But what about you bass boaters? You guys name your
I probably should name it. I haven't found a name that I really love with it yet.
Bass and Brews.
I'm telling you, my boat is beautiful. I mean, she is a really, really pretty boat. Like super sparkly silver with red details, really pretty boat. And the guy who had it before me took like impeccable care of it. So, yeah, she's great. She's got
just got it.
250 Mercury on her.
Hell yeah.
You got it tricked out about a month ago. You finally got all the electronics and stuff set up that you got on there. What do you run on electronics?
So I have 2 Lowrance at the console. So 2 12-inch Lowrance there, one for navigation and one for side scan, down scan.
Big money.
And then I have on the bow, I've got a 16-inch Garmin for live scope and a little 9-inch Lowrance for navigation up front.
A little 9-inch Lowrance.
Well, it is. I mean, when you put a 9-inch Lowrance next to a 16-inch Garmin, it looks tiny.
Tiffany, you got to snap them fingers, girl, because goddamn, a little 9-inch Lowrance. That's amazing. So, are you? How's live scoping going? Are you good at it? Are you still learning it?
I'm still learning, and I will tell you, one of the hardest things for me with live scope is, and it's funny because Christine actually helped me work on this weekend when we fished together, but is you have to be super, super gentle in your, and that's kind of hard. You know, it's hard to make really micro adjustments with it to keep the fish in focus and to follow fish, and it really takes skill And it's just something you have to practice. And
I don't know, Tiffany. All these assholes on the internet are saying that it's basically pay to play. You just throw that thing on, and the fish come up.
Everything.
Yeah, exactly. They say it's the easiest thing. It's ruining fishing. It's like anybody can catch a fish now.
I will say, having fished with a lot of guys who are proficient at it, they make it look easy. They make it look like you just go out there and you see a fish and you just bloop and pull them out, because that's what they do, because they are so good at it. But when you're learning to do it, when you're learning to distinguish, is that a bass? Is that not a bass? Are those trash fish? Should I even be casting at these fish? You can see the fish on the live scope, and that doesn't mean you're on target with that fish. Like, you have to make sure you're lined up, because if you cast it, a few millimeters off, your bait's not going to be anywhere near that fish by the time it gets there. So it's really a skill, like anything else.
I can't tell you how many people I know just locally here in the North Carolina area where I am who bought it and had it for a handful or two of months, and then were selling it. Like, because they were like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
In a kayak, it's actually easier to run your forward facing in a kayak, because you got a little handle like what crappie guys do to move it around, so you don't even have to operate the trolling motor.
Well, and as somebody who's fished by just instinct for so long, like fished bottom contact baits where I can feel every movement, or fished, jigs and Texas rigs and small swim baits and things like that are, really on the feel, really on the seeing what you see out there and making a cast to, using your instincts. It can be really frustrating trying to use live scope. It can be really frustrating to not just want to pick up a jig and be like, screw this, I'm going to go do what I know how to do.
Sometimes you might have to. Sometimes you're like, fuck this live scope, let me go throw a jig on some wood.
Yeah. But if I want to compete, and I want to compete at higher levels, I have to learn to use the tools that are available to me. Because there's going to be times where live scope's the deal. That's where those bass are at, and that's what you've got to use. So it's just one of those things. It's another learning curve, something else to add.
Yeah, but that's good that you have that foundation to do it instinctively. Because like you said, live scope, sometimes it is the deal, but sometimes it's not the deal.
Yeah.
And I think we could see potentially newer anglers who are very used to video game fishing. All of a sudden, they might not be strong enough in that traditional style of fishing and finding the fish, right?
I mean, and I still love going out to a pond and throwing my jig around, or throwing my Texas rig around, and just like all the way back.
Man, Texas ponds must be awesome. Everybody from Texas is always like, I started in a pond, and sometimes I go back. We only catch like 8-pounders. A pond in New Jersey is like a sewer runoff behind the one Kmart left in fucking the United States. You go back there, you've got to dodge like 4 crackheads. You got to wear a full suit of armor. And by that, I mean a legit medieval times armor, because there's needles everywhere, right? And then you go in there, you got to dodge the shopping carts, the strollers, the car seats, possibly a car or a dead body. And then when you finally do get a bite, it's a fucking 9-inch bass. Like, I hate pond fishing. Pond fishing sucks in the state of New Jersey. Most of
the ponds here in Texas, even the public ponds. I mean, I fish a lot of ponds. My family has, a ranch, and I go fish the ponds there, and they're stocked. But most of even the public ponds are stocked by Texas Parks and Wildlife, or by private, organizations who stock their ponds. And so you can go to a public pond and you can catch a 5-pounder. I've caught lots of 5-pounders in city ponds here in this little town, Lakeway, that I live right here around the corner from. So,
well, you know what? Congratulations for you,
Alex doesn't catch anything in his little home pond that he fishes. And he won't even say the name. And then she's out here throwing out the names of the ponds.
Because they have so many good ponds. Like, they're just to
give you an idea, in Lakeway, there's probably 6 ponds in that tiny town that are public fishing ponds.
Baller.
and they're all good. I mean, they've all got good bass. I've caught bass in all of them.
Is that where you took Coley when she came?
I took Coley. Yeah, she went to a few of those with me actually.
Did she catch her PB while she was there?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Lost opportunity.
Look at this
Coley.
serious
Step
look on
this shit
Tiffany's
up.
face too. She's like, "No, she didn't. That fucking
So,
dipshit."
You're
funny
mad at me
thing
for
is-
bringing that up.
The funny thing is, I caught my PB when she was there.
Yes.
Hey,
So we went fishing. We actually went fishing on Lake Somerville. Oh no, on Lake Fayette, which is really near where my parents live. They live in a little town called LaGrange, and it's like a power plant lake. It's a fun lake to fish.
Mhm.
But we were fishing post spawn, and I caught the lake record for catch and release bass.
holy shit!
It
How big was it?
It was 24 and a quarter, I think, inches.
Did you weigh it?
Oh,
Super long. We
I thought
weighed
she
it.
meant pounds. I was like, "Wait, isn't that a fucking world record?"
Well, for catch and release, no, for catch and release, they do it by inches.
Right.
But the weight was only 6.5 pounds because it was post-spawn.
Pre-spawned out, yeah, or post-spawned out, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
hold on. Speaking
but it was.
of,
I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Coley's
Yeah.
just sitting there like, "What the fuck? I paid all that money to come out here."
And we were fishing a tournament like on all our online Lady Slayers.
Oh yeah.
Lady Slayers tournament, and so yeah.
So was that?
It was a good week.
Were y'all fishing a
It's a good
tournament
week for
when
me.
y'all were drinking? Like
No.
how did
That was a different day.
okay. So
No, it
you
wasn't.
should
I
have been
could see it
drinking
in her
during the
face.
tournament.
That was at a pond that we were drinking.
How did that go? Was the video of y'all taking your airplane bottle shots? Was that like a one-time deal, or were y'all throwing down the whole day?
No. It was a one-time deal. We did it for the video,
Right.
and then we got lots of shit because we didn't take the full shot. So
Yes.
for us to be able to get it timed right, like it took a couple tries, and we were like, we cannot be getting wasted at this pond. It's like we can't just be down in bottles of bourbon, because it was bullet that we were shooting. And so we ended up we stopped it with our tongue like when we did the video, and we got so much, I mean, just keyboard warriors, like you didn't
Love
even
it.
finish the pod.
Yeah,
And
but you should have put
I had to drive
all the,
home.
you should have
Right.
put all the out clips before that of like the first 6 or 7 where y'all drank them all and be like, we didn't drink a pint. Of
No,
bullet."
how about no, she doesn't have to do any about that. How about people quit being fucking douchebags? Like, how about that? Like, oh, you don't even take the fucking shot. And then he sits there and he's just like, man, I feel good about it. I'm going to have my mom make me some Hot Pockets because my tum-tum's hungry as he crawls out of his fucking basement. How about people just stop being dickheads? Like,
He's got a 3X shirt on that looks like a belly shirt. His fucking comes up below his boobs. He's like,
I bet you if
didn't
I
drink
had-
the whole thing.
I bet you if I had live scope, I'd catch all the fucking fish. And there's just like a whole like fish patty that pops out of his mouth at the same time. Like,
They
I'm
probably
so
own a fishing rod. How many people on your videos you think that talk shit, Tiffany, that probably don't even fish?
I don't know. Probably a few. A lot of them fish. Fish.
There we go.
So
Air quotes.
I get a lot of what I should and shouldn't do
Mm.
while I'm fishing comments, but
yeah.
not as much anymore. I've weeded out a lot of people. I mean, I got a really long block list. Like, if you make an inappropriate comment to me on my page, you're blocked. Like,
Heck yeah.
you don't get a second chance. Like, my page is not about that. I'm not seeking that kind of attention. Like,
Thankfully, you came back on the show after Paul asked you the beaver question. Jeez.
I don't know that he really intended it that way. It just kind of.
No, I think he
I
meant
think
the
my
animal.
reaction more than anything
Yes,
was.
it was you that made it seem the other way.
Look, I seriously 100%. So Alex has taken over asking that question, but when I ask it, and the first time I ever ask it on this podcast, it was truly about.
Yeah, we
What
were
it
literally
is.
talking about
Yeah.
beavers, like real life beavers.
Yeah. And you know, but what's funny with that question is when
I'm
you
such
ask
a
people
child.
that, some people go to, no, I've never eaten beaver before, and then other people do the you know, they stutter. So, but yeah, I am glad you came back.
Yes.
Because look, I've been reaching out to you for months over the
No,
last
you
year.
haven't.
Which he has, but guess what? You know what 2025 is?
Were you
Well,
sending
you're
it to my?
persistent.
Were you sending it to my Facebook?
Cut her off, Alex.
Well, it was
what were
for
you
the bit.
saying? What were you saying, Tiffany?
Oh, I
before
said
you
I
rudely-
didn't. The message you sent me like a couple days ago. That was the first one I'd gotten.
I have no idea because look, I've
He
gotten
was just-
semi-famous on
just being
social
an
media, and I don't know which
Tiffany
platform.
you
If you send it to my Facebook, I don't even bother reading my Facebook messages because they're so like trash.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what I'm surprised you answered my DM.
I do like that you brought that up.
I can't imagine what the fuck your DMs look like.
It's gotta
to be honest.
I don't read them. I mean, for the most part, if I don't know you or I have not like had some kind of interaction with you on social media, I just don't bother with it.
I liked Bassmaster did a article with you last year, and I thought it was really cool that you mentioned it in there, and you mentioned that you have a thick skin, but you're more worried about the younger female anglers that are coming up, and you know, and it is like, again, can people just stop being assholes? Like, one, only 0.5% of the female population wants to see your wiener. You don't have to mass send it out there. Nobody wants to fucking see that thing at all. Your wife probably doesn't even want to fucking see that thing. So just don't send that thing to random ladies. I think it's pretty clear we shouldn't be doing that. And then two, like, honestly, if you don't have anything nice to say, I understand trolling. I love to troll just as much as the next person. But like, that shit's fucking gross when you're being like overly sexually inappropriate to an angler who's out there showing their passion for what they do, right? That's just fucking weird and gross. You're a fucking absolute scum.
Well, and I mean, anyone who goes to my page, like, it is very, very clear that I'm not out there fishing for attention. You know,
Right.
like I'm trying to be a competitive angler, trying to be a serious angler, trying to promote my sponsors and promote brands that I believe in. And I'm not out there to get male attention. Like, that's not what I'm interested in.
And speaking of competitive angling, what are we doing this year? Are you hopping into the local? Are you doing BFL again? Are you hopping into local opens? Are you doing some local tournaments? What are you doing with your boat this year?
So I'm fishing. So yeah, I switched gears from fishing as a co-angler, and I've been fishing from the front of the boat. I'm fishing some team tournaments with my boyfriend Nate, and for me, more than anything, that's just helping me get comfortable.
Snaps for Nate. Snaps for Nate.
Snaps for Nate.
I'm not doing snaps.
You got a snap. Tiffany, you got a snap.
Oh, I need to get the snap.
There we go.
Snaps
for Nate.
No, yes. I don't do the snaps. I hate the snaps, but Paul and the audience loves the snaps.
It's like we're at a jazz.
Yeah,
poetry,
it's stupid. It's stupid.
Poetry slam. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Hey, a poetry slam. God, I've never heard of that one. I'm going to start doing poetry slams. Snaps for whoever.
Tiffany, you called it a poetry slam. Let's hear your best fish haiku then.
My best fish. Okay. Anyways, but
no haikus.
No haikus.
No haikus for you, bitch.
Oh shit, he's a wordsmith.
Poet didn't know what I can rhyme anytime.
God, you're the worst.
Haikus don't rhyme. But anyways.
I wasn't. Oh, don't make me bring out a haiku. I didn't say they rhymed, Tiffany.
But so I'm fishing some team tournaments with Nate. We're fishing the Texas Team Trail together. And so our next tournament is actually next week on Texoma. And then I'm also fishing some other just kind of random tournaments. I fished with Christine, we fished the team tournament last weekend, which was really kind of miserable conditions, but it was fun company and we enjoyed ourselves, even though we didn't catch any fish. But you know, that's fishing. So I'm fishing some other trails. I'll probably fish some of the LBAA tournaments, the Lady Bass Anglers Association. They have one coming up on Caddo that I may fish. I'm going to fish some tournaments up in Missouri, which is Nate lives up near Table Rock. So I'll probably fish some tournaments up there. But yeah, just doing some local things, getting more comfortable in the boat. And, you know, on lakes, not all, I mean, Texoma, I've never really fished. I've fished it one time. So just trying to get some more experience behind the wheel of the boat, working my electronics and learning.
Working the boat. People, if you watch a MLF or elite tournament and they got a camera in the boat, like they make it look easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But when you're on the front of the boat and if you're going down the bank at 8 or 10 or on a high speed, or if you're sitting out there trying to mark a spot, like that is an art that I feel like a lot of people don't understand unless they have a boat and they're out there doing that kind of fishing.
And even, you know, having competed as a co-angler in the opens and fished, you know, St. Clair in Michigan and fished, you know, in Oklahoma and fished in Mississippi and fished all over the place, I still didn't have an appreciation for how much work and effort it takes into being a boater, into, you know, learning new lakes. I mean, that in itself is a skill all on its own, is learning how to break down a lake, learning where you want to fish, you know, and then making decisions. Like, not only do you have to operate a boat, do you have to read your maps, but you also have to make the decision in the moment of where to go. And if that's not working, where to switch to and how to pivot and, you know, find a new place on the lake if the one you picked out isn't working out or the 5 you picked out don't work out. And so, you know, there's a lot more to it than I think people give boaters credit for. And yeah, as somebody who had never done that side of things, it's kind of a whole lot to learn all at once. But it's one of those things, you only learn it by doing. You know, you can't, I can watch all the YouTube videos, I can watch all the lake breakdown videos I want, or how to operate my electronics that I want, until you get out there and you do it and you practice and you just get on the water, time on the water. That's the only way to learn it.
I think that's really interesting. You mentioned the pivoting, right? Because I think coming from the kayak world, you know, we definitely give bass boaters shit because it's like, oh, it must be really easy to just pick up the trolling motor and haul ass on the other side of the lake, right? And obviously, I think it takes 2 different sets of skills, right? Because one of them, like, I know my jittery ass would be like 3 casts, nope, fucking pull it up, we're gonna haul ass over here. 3 casts, nope, you know what I mean? Like, you have to know, like, maybe I should soak the spot a little longer, or when to pull up and where to go. I think those are 2 different skill sets between kayak anglers and bass boat anglers. But that's a really good point, because I mean, you have more options, right? But sometimes it could be option overload, like there's too many options.
Well, and you have, you know, as opposed to once you launch your kayak, you're kind of in an area, right? You have a limited range of how far you can go and what to do. With a bass boat, you know, you don't have those same limitations. And so it's like, if this side of the lake isn't working, like, do I run? And then do I run north? Do I run south? Do I, you know, like, there's just a lot of calculation and thought and instinct that goes into it, in addition to operating equipment, right?
Right,
learning how to read your graphs, to learning how to understand what you're seeing on down scan and side scan and forward facing sonar and your maps. I mean, reading the maps in themselves. And you know, I generally knew how to read like a contour map and that kind of thing, but then actually reading them and understanding, okay, here's where I need to go on the lake, and this is how I actually go to get there, isn't the same thing, especially on a lake like Sam Rayburn or Toledo Bend, where
Big
you have
creek.
boat lanes, and if you go afoul of those boat lanes, you may hit a big old stump. So like
I want to
it's
talk about these
$2,000.
lakes real quick. One, it just dawned on me after hearing the name of this lake for 5+ years. Texhoma. Is that by Oklahoma?
So Texhoma is
It's
on the
just-
border of Texas and Oklahoma. That's why
It
it's Texhoma.
just dawned on me that that's why it's named that. Like 5 years of hearing this lake's name, and it just dawned on me it's just the two states. But also, okay, your ponds are great, but why do your lakes have to sound so fucking cool too? Like all the lakes
They
in
are.
that area, they just sound fucking cooler than anything I have in New Jersey or Pennsylvania. They just sound fucking cooler. Like they sound like they have big fish.
Yeah, they
You know what I
do.
mean? Like Table Rock sounds fucking badass.
Well, that's in Missouri.
Well, that's in Missouri. I understand that, not in Texas, but still like kind of that corridor, right? That corridor. They all got badass lake names, and it pisses me off. That's bullshit. I've got Union Lake. That's boring. Yeah.
That just sounds depressing.
It is a depressing lake. I hate that lake. Like the biggest lake in South Jersey, and it sucks. I'm glad that Paul came back. Hey, we're talking a lot of talk so far about using electronics and using live scope, things like that. Paul doesn't know it yet, but we did partner with a company, and we are now we're partnering with a company. They are offering this brand new version of live scope, but it's way more budget friendly because a live scope unit is like thousands of dollars, right? It's an expensive. You can get into LiveScope now really cheap. This company, all it does is it gives you a snorkel and you just shove your fucking head under the water and you just look with your eyeballs. It's called iScope. Yeah, that's it. So look out for them in the future. Thanks, Paul. Paul just went with you're dumb.
You're an idiot. Hey,
I
have a question backing up a little bit, Tiffany.
Okay.
You said you're fishing some team.
You don't want to talk. Hold on, Paul. You don't want to talk about the snorkel LiveScope for the next hour?
Tiffany, you mentioned earlier about fishing team tournaments with Nate, your boyfriend. How does that work? Do we have arguments on the water? Because it's one thing to just go fishing, but now we've got money invested in this. We're fishing for money, like it's a competition. How does that dynamic work for y'all? Are there arguments? Is it like, hey, try this, and I'm like, no, what does that look like?
No, I mean, I'm gonna knock on wood. We actually work really well as a team together. So he's a really good teacher, and he understands that I'm learning, and he understands that we're fishing these tournaments. Yeah, we want to win and we want to compete, but he also understands, like, the last tournament we fished was literally one of my first times fully operating the boat, kind of taking control, like doing all of that. And so, our expectations we're probably going to be the top of the field. And we ended up right in the middle of the field, which is fine. Of course, I want to, I'm doing this because I want to compete. I want to get to that level, but I understand that I'm not there yet. And so he is really, really gracious and a great teacher and super patient with me. And he has a wealth of knowledge and a lot of experience. He's been fishing his whole life. He's been competing in tournaments for 30 years. Like, so.
Damn, you got an old man.
Well, no, I mean, he's been fishing since he was a teenager. Like,
I was kidding.
But also, Tiffany just confirmed. She's just dating him.
I'm also not. I mean, I'm not. But
she's just dating Nate for the fishing knowledge and waypoints, is what she just confirmed.
No, we've been dating for a long time.
Nate, you better not teach her everything.
The last time you were on, I don't think.
Yeah, we've been dating for 3 years.
Well, it hasn't.
You weren't dating him the last time you were on.
So I may not have been on.
Yeah. But yeah, Nate, don't show her everything.
I don't know, but
as soon as she gets better than you, Nate, you're getting dumped. Just a heads up.
God damn, Alex, what the fuck? You're an asshole. Tell him he's an asshole, Tiffany. Say it.
Yep, you're an asshole, Alex.
Whoa.
See?
Holy cow. Listen, we can't be having that
Kick her
bullshittery.
See, confirmed. But but no, I mean, so we have a good dynamic fishing together, and we do a lot of even outside of the tournaments, we do a lot of fishing together. So
Good.
So that's interesting too, because I do a lot of fishing, but I've got buddies that I'll hop in team tournaments with. Coming up this year, I've got a buddy that we're going to fish a handful of team tournaments, and he's a better angler than I am. He's the boat guy. He's got the boat, but every now and again we get because him and I talk a lot. So after tournaments, after my kayak tournaments, after his, we talk a lot. What's interesting is that we bring a different perspective, and so the lack of knowledge compared to him and his fishing ability, there are some times where I was like, I did this in my tournament or something. You brought something up that maybe they weren't thinking about because they have it in their head that this is the way we're going to catch them, or this is what the fish are doing, and it's nice to be able to have that. Not uneducated, but maybe that ignorant view compared to what they have,
simpler
knowledge that they have. It's like, hey, why don't we go try this? And if you have that partner that's like, all right, let's go try it, and it works, like shit, now they learn something.
Yeah.
And it was just taking a step back and not being so, not over analyzing the shit that it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's So if anybody wants a co-angler, I can bring the simplest of fishing. I'll bring a bucket of minnows and a wacky worm, and I will teach you how to catch a bunch of bluegill in a bass tournament. That would so if anybody's looking for that, let me know.
In the Jersey area.
Listen, I'll travel to Delaware.
In the Union Pond.
Union Pond. Yeah, see, our ponds, you even kind of had like a name for ponds. Our ponds are just like that shithole behind Macy's. Yeah.
Good job, Alex.
Thanks.
It's called a drainage ditch.
It's draining all the shit water that overflowed from when it rained half an inch.
Don't mind that like sparkly film on the top.
Oh, that's the good shit. That's where you really know. That's where you really know the bass are, is when they're right next to. Again,
like
I talk
oil
about
slick going on.
Yeah.
An oil slick, a floating condom, and a baby stroller is like the best environment to catch large New Jersey bass.
Yeah, they're just living in that habitat.
Yeah, they love it. That's that's why our bass are stunted. They smell funny. They swim sideways. 3 eyes.
Simpsons fish.
Exactly, right? It's got one small big toe sticking out of its belly.
Little fin.
Little fin. It's a little Nemo.
So, Tiffany, what have you caught some giants in 2024, the past year?
So I caught last year I caught a really big smallmouth. I think a really big one. It was 4.5 pounds.
Oh yeah. Where was that at?
Football.
On St. Clair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah. I watched a lot of 5-pound smallmouth get caught, a lot of 6-pound smallmouth get caught. I did not catch one of those, but
you were the Coley. You were the Coley in that situation. You just got to watch people catch big fish.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So when I fished the Open on St. Clair that first day, like I was saying, I fished with Trevor McKinney, and he was the leader that day, and he caught like 26 pounds of smallmouth. Ooh, and I caught my 3, and then he had his trolling motor on 10 going around, and I just watched him pluck out, I mean, he was culling 4-pounders like left and right. I mean, I don't know how many fish he caught that day, but it was incredible to watch.
When you're a co-angler, are you helping net their fish and vice versa?
Not in the Opens.
Okay.
In BFLs, yes, you can net fish. In the Opens, you're not allowed to use a net.
So they're on their own. You're just sitting there watching, going, "Please don't jump off." Or
yeah. You can help them like grab a fish, but I've never had a boater ask me to do that. I've had a boater help me get my fish in the boat, especially the first couple smallmouth I caught. I had never really been smallmouth fishing like that. And so getting those huge smallmouth into the boat, like they jump like crazy. They
acting
just,
the fool. They be acting the fool.
And so you really just got to scoop in and just put them in the boat. Like you can't, like, it's not like a largemouth where you can just grab them by the mouth because they're got a big old mouth. So, makes it easy.
I like how you said you didn't catch a lot, but looking at the Bassmaster site, it looks like you caught like 19 pounds.
Yeah, over 2 days.
Yeah.
So I caught 3 fish each day.
Goddamn, that's 3 fish. Fucking goddamn, almost 10 pounds a day.
Yeah.
Over 3 fish.
Yeah.
That's 3 pound average.
I had a good tournament. Yeah. That was our tournament.
And that must have been crazy for the.
I think I came in like 31st.
Yep,
I think
right on the dot.
30. And then I also got the Toyota bonus buck check out of that. So that was a good.
I'm going to tell you what, Tiffany's going to go places because, Paul, do you remember when we were talking with Shipwreck? And I'm sorry, I forgot his buddy's name. Last time he was on, his buddy knew exactly. I'd mentioned these lakes where he had a good performance, right? And he knew exactly.
2006,
right? So Tiffany, you're gonna go places because you did exactly what he did. You knew your place on it. I know it wasn't probably that long ago, but I can't remember what I had for breakfast fucking 2 days ago, let alone and you nailed it right there. But he had that same mindset of knowing exactly the place. And I think he was only a couple ounces off of how much. And we're talking a tournament that was like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that. He knew what the fuck was his name. We gotta Alex, go look up his name. But we asked him what his total weight was or total money winnings, and he was off by like $50.
Yeah, he was off by $50 from his total winnings in bass.
What are we gonna say?
I don't pay that much attention to that, but I haven't won that much money. So,
but still, it comes down to how many pounds I caught. You probably you probably know how you caught them and stuff like that. It's that
$5,638. Just so you know.
Yeah. So I can look at my Instagram and I would say probably at least 95% of those fish, I could tell you exactly where they came from just by looking at a picture of the fish. I could tell you which pond I caught it out of, which lake I caught it out of, probably what season it was when I caught it.
Insane. Hey, heads up, that guy's name was Paul. That guy's name is Paul.
That's right. Man, that was hard to remember.
See what I'm saying? Paul, the guy's name was Paul. Paul's name is Paul. Can't even remember the name Paul. But Tiffany's like, oh, yeah, I think I got around 31st. I think it was 31st exactly.
Hey, Tiffany, you spent 3 years fishing in the back of the boat.
So I actually spent 4, but 3 in the opens.
Semantics. Okay. See, this is what happens when you have an attorney on. They're gonna be like, oh no.
I want people saying I'm lying.
All right, hold on real quick. Time out, Paul. She wants to be exact. She fished in the Phoenix Bass Fishing League, right?
Yeah.
Not so hot over there.
No.
That's why.
First year though.
I'm just saying. If she wants semantics, I got semantics.
I never did great. Like I never placed. I'd place like top.
Actually, you weren't that off. In 2002, you were in 6. You got 60th. That's not bad.
2002.
Total.
She was like 3 years old.
2022. No, she's older than us. Stop, Paul.
She is not.
Yes, she is.
I'm old as fuck. Do you see all the gray?
What's your birth year, Paul? Because I guarantee that 81. She is older than you. Yep, she's older than you. Tiffany was born in 1970.
No,
she was born in 1980.
1980.
Okay. Well, can you give me, how do you age so well? Because, I mean, Alex is a child. He's not even 40 yet.
I'm 40.
You look like you're still in your 20s. Hey, I have a question.
I have a kid in my 20s. I got a 25-year-old.
You have a 25-year-old?
Yes.
Girl or boy?
Girl.
Oh
and then God. I have a 9-year-old son.
I'm going to have to text you about what to do with my 14-year-old girl for the next 9 years because I'm scared.
She got so serious. She went, "Oh,
I'm scared."
You were just like, "Oh, it's gonna suck."
Okay, we're changing directions. I don't want to talk. I don't even want to think about it. We're not doing this. I don't want to have to.
I've already figured out a plan. I'm joining the military again.
Daughters
as soon as they get.
But you've got a hump. Like you'll get past it. You'll be fine.
That's the second fat joke she's made tonight about
I know.
me.
Yep.
She just said I have a hump.
Yep.
I'm saying,
Jesus,
get over.
Come on, Tiffany.
Daughter.
Fuck me. That's the second fat joke tonight. I don't appreciate.
No, I don't think that's a fat joke. That's not a fat. That's
I was talking about like.
That's a grotesque joke. She means you have a hunchback, like.
No, that's not.
Yeah, that's what she means.
You know what? Both of y'all suck. You should not pick on fat people.
Yeah, I agree. You shouldn't.
I don't agree with that.
You just did twice.
Listen, if they're your friend, it's your responsibility to make fun of them for being fat asses, all right? But that's the difference between guys and girls. Because I'm going to tell you what, from my understanding, ladies don't shit on each other for their weight ever. It's kind of like a no, they don't do it, right? Yeah. But I'm going to tell you what, the first time I see my buddy take off his shirt and he's got a big fat gut, I'm going to slap that thing so fucking hard. I'm going to call him the Buddha. I'm going to call him Santa Claus. Every time he eats a cupcake, I want to be like, really fat ass? Like, that's just like a common, like, that's dude love language is if you're a fat boy, you get made fun of.
Look, I wore a bikini in 2023 on the last call or on the end of year kegger. And it was fun and games and shit until I look back at that and I'm like, my boobs actually filled out the top of the bikini. And I got big nipples, but it sucked that the rest of it filled out. I was not okay with that. But
Tiffany,
I have a question.
Hold on.
I think y'all need to add to the list of taboo things to talk about.
Yeah.
Body
Paul's
images.
nipples. Paul's nipples is on the list of things not to talk about.
I mean, I'll show. If y'all want to see a nipple, I'll show it.
Hey,
it's pretty hairy.
Tiffany. Tiffany, you said that you're good friends with Christine Fisher, right? So you know how she got famous or went viral for that shot of her at the front of her kayak, like standing on the very top of it. You know what I mean? At the very front.
Yeah, she's like a ballerina on there.
Right. So we're gonna recreate that.
She's got like all the balance of every ballerina in the world.
We know. We saw your video.
You fell off the front of a fucking
I can't even stand on a bass boat, and she's standing on the tip of her kayak.
But we're going to recreate that, but Paul's going to do it on his Hobie in a bikini. He's going to try to stand at the front also.
And she like launches her kayak so gracefully. Me, I'm like a raccoon trying to get in line. Falling over stuff.
When Christine was on, I told this story. When Christine was on, this was the second year I've been kayak fishing. And that's what she does, right? So the what's the back end called? The port?
Aft.
The
stern.
So the aft
stern
is in the water, and then the bow's in the front, and she pushes it off, and she jumps on the bow and just walks in her kayak. Yeah, I tried to do that fucking shit, and I did not fall in the water, but I fell into the kayak when I did it. I pushed that bitch off. I took my step in. I got both feet on the front, and then I looked like a fucking mastodon getting speared by Native Americans going over a cliff as I fell into my kayak, and I never did it again. I never did. I tried.
What a painter of pictures. Tiffany, you just found the name of your bass boat. You said you look like a raccoon getting into your kayak, so you should name the bass boat the Trash Panda.
my bass boat is way too pretty. It's got to have a pretty name.
Bass and Brews. We'll sponsor you. I will send you barbecue rub. And Alex will send.
I'll send you the bills for hosting the show.
No, not the bills, because we're sponsoring her. You just send her the receipts.
We don't have to do anything because Christine Fisher bought the show for like a penny 2 weeks ago. So Christine Fisher is now the proud owner.
She's gonna turn it all around.
She doesn't know it yet. She doesn't know it yet.
Our whole plan is that we're actually working with Russ Snyder's to sink her financially, so she can't fish in any tournaments, so he can actually win a couple. So it's a big. Don't tell her. It's secret. Everybody, nobody tell her.
Hey, I've been trying to.
I mean, in all honesty, she's like one of the most amazing people. Like she's just
awesome.
a great person.
Yeah, I mean, well, I do have a question after this. And so, y'all, Alex,
I'm going to interrupt
don't
you.
interrupt me. I want to say one thing. Christine has been a big female angler that has promoted and helped other female anglers, and she just had the platform, to be kind of a face of that. And it started, and it's all the kayak side of it. And so, but you can tell the friends that, I mean, you and Coley both know her, and we've had a couple other women anglers on the podcast that have met her and had nothing but good things to say. And so when
except for Russ.
Yeah, but he's not a woman angler.
Russ hates her with a passion. I'm just joking.
You're really.
I just wanted to interrupt him.
You're really bad at this. Anyway, hey, back to my original question. 3 years, and excuse me, 4 years.
4.
I don't want Tiffany to have to correct me again.
Objection.
4 years of fishing out the back of a bass boat. Have you had anything? Have you had a tournament, a boater or a tournament, whatever, that it was just shitty? Like they were a terrible boater. They put you in a position that just sucked, or they were terrible at fishing or anything. Have you had that arise at any point?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I've had only very, very few of those experiences.
Give us the top one. Give us the one that you're like, this motherfucker's a piece of shit.
The top one is the one that I was talking about. That was the day after Nate and I met, and we fished together, and he taught me to drive a boat.
The guy that beached it, yeah.
that boater ran us in a 18-foot nitro across Rayburn with huge swells of waves, and we had no business being out there. And knowing what I know now, we had no business running across that lake like we did. And yeah, I mean, the boat was full of water. My co-angler bag was completely full of water. I had water up to my calf in the boat. It was a bad situation.
God damn, Alex would have drowned in that boat if it was up to your calf.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a good situation that he put us in. And when you are a boater, you are responsible for the life of your co-angler. And
was it inexperience, or was it him just being pompous?
It was both. It was a combination of those two things.
So and I won't call out my name.
I mean, I know who he is, but it was just bad decision making on his part. And
that's a good learning experience since you survived. Did you have a life jacket on?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're not allowed to fish those tournaments without a life jacket. Anytime the motor's on, you got to have your life jacket on. No, always.
Yeah. See all that.
Yeah.
Hey,
but
listen,
that's the
Tiffany.
One where you're like, I'm gonna put my life jacket on.
Yeah, right.
And I'm gonna. Can I get one of the orange ones out the bat? Because this guy's an idiot.
I mean, that was just a bad experience. But out of those bad experiences, you learn good lessons.
How about fish? How about fishing? Did you, outside of the the guy not being able to navigate his boat, did you have any bad experiences with fishing? People kind of putting you outside of casting or anything?
We already talked about that.
Yeah, not really.
Specifically,
no.
though.
I mean, I've had tough fishing conditions, and I've had boaters who were catching them, and I wasn't, just because anytime you're fishing from the back of the boat, you're at a disadvantage to some degree. You don't get the first cast into places. You don't, have prime boat positioning. That doesn't mean you can't outfish your boater from the back of the boat, because I've done that too. But like a lot of times, like you don't get the prime casts. And so I've had plenty of times where I watched my boater haul and fish, and I struggled to catch one, but that's just part of the game.
But they weren't like guarding you from
No.
doing anything. Okay.
No, I've never really experienced that. Have I had frustrating days? Yes, but it wasn't my boater's fault. And I really, as a co-angler, like my outlook on it was one, I'm here to gain experience, right? And two, it's not my boater's responsibility for me to catch fish. That's my responsibility. That was my job. And if I didn't catch fish, it's because I wasn't doing something right. So that's how that was my outlook. So
I dig it.
I like that because you'll hear a lot of, I say a lot, but you'll see people on social media, well, used to, where they would say, "Oh, my boater was doing this and that, and I couldn't catch fish." And your outlook is, it's my job to catch fish doing what we're doing. And they're like, "Oh, my boater was doing this and that, and they, whatever, they couldn't catch a fish," and they blame it on the boater instead of conforming to the situation you're in.
And I mean, I had another situation where my boater's trolling motor broke that morning. And for me, that was a real frustrating time because he literally let me fish for an hour, hunkered down in one pocket, and then wouldn't even like attempt to let us fish out the rest of the day. And he went back to the dock and loaded up because his trolling motor was broken and my day was over. So, I'd driven 5 hours to a tournament, rented a place to go stay, and my day was over by 8:00. And I had no choice in the matter. So that kind of thing is hard. But you don't have control over that. And I think what I've learned more than anything is I can only control my piece, right? I can prepare, I can do my best, to be ready, and then I can fish hard and I can try to make the most of the bites that I get and make the adjustments that I need to on the water. And I can't sit there and blame somebody else for me not catching fish because 9 times out of 10, it's not their fault.
Did you ever have an instance where your boater asked your opinion? Like the day wasn't going good, and they're like, "What do you want to do? Do you have a place to go?" And you were able to maybe get y'all on some fish?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I've talked with lots of my boaters about how, how our day would go and what kind of fishing I wanted to do and what kind of fishing they wanted to do. And sometimes they were like, I'm not on anything. Like I had a terrible day yesterday, for instance. And so with tournaments like the Opens, you have to be very careful because you can't divulge where you fished the day before or give them information coming from your other boater. So I'm, in those kind of tournament settings, I would not tell them that. I mean, it would be a violation of the rules, and it's just a shitty thing to do. And so for those types of situations, I probably wouldn't give any kind of thing. But in tournaments where I did pre-fishing and I'm coming into it with my knowledge, I'm happy to share that with my boater because it benefits both of us. As long as it's my knowledge, not my knowledge coming from someone else who I fished with.
Listen, I'm going to put Tiffany's a stand-up person. I'm going to get it. I'm going to put it back out there again. I'll teach you how to fish with minnows, and I will divulge everything your opponents did. I will let out all the secrets. You give me 2 bush lattes, and I will tell you everything about what everybody's doing. I'll spend the whole night creeping around everybody's boats at the campsites and the Airbnbs. I'll tell you exactly what the baits are. I will be that spy. If you just put me on the back of your boat as a co-angler, just throwing it out there. You guys can reach me at bassandbrews@gmail.com.
And when he does that, just make sure that when you put the seat on the back of the boat,
I need a big seat.
You need to get the kid size seat because if you get the regular seat, his feet ain't gonna touch when he sits on it.
Listen, when I get into the boat, I will go upseas when I need to be put onto the dock. So, but if you can handle that, I will give you all the tips.
Strap on it like a safety belt.
Exactly.
Strap on. Alex, you need a strap on? Did you just say
no?
Strap on? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm colorblind. I don't hear good. Hey,
Yeah.
I got another question.
Okay.
All right. We hear some horror stories about co-anglers bring in like 15 rods, two sacks of lures and shit like that, and then they're eating, Subway sandwiches with mustard dripping off. They're dipping glow in the back of the boat and shit like that. I assume that you didn't have any issues like that. You're respective of the boater that you're with.
Yeah.
Watch
I mean,
Tiffany throw this all off. Tiffany's like, no, I was a fucking menace.
Yeah.
I threw dip and glow everywhere. I ate liverwurst sandwiches. She's over there farting in the gas tank. It was fucking menace.
so I
She's over
always,
there got Copenhagen in, spitting,
just
spitting, chewing the back
spitting
off the
all
side.
over the fucking motor.
Off the side of the deck.
I just take that dip and glow and just
Yeah.
all the way
Look,
to
I
the
wrote
wall.
my name. Look, I wrote my name in your carpet.
I always try to leave their boat in the same condition I got in it, like.
But how did you? What the question is for Alex rudely interrupted and made a really good funny for the first time in this whole podcast. But what I'm trying to say is, how did you prepare for that? Did you how many rods did you bring? Like, how much gear did you bring? Because I'm sure you're bringing a bunch of shit because you have no idea what you're going to be doing with 2 days of different anglers. But what did you bring and how did you prepare to go on the back of the boat?
So the night before, you find out who your boater is. And so I would call them and talk with them about generally, like, what are we doing that day? And I had my kind of standard rods that I would bring. Like, I'd always bring a Texas rig. I'd always bring a shaky head. I'd always bring a drop shot because those are just things as a co-angler you're always going to fish. Now, you may have other baits, that you switch those out with. But for the most part, like, those were kind of 3 standard things that I would always have tied on as a co. And then I would bring whatever else it was, whether it was a square bill crankbait or a chatterbait or whatever, else. I planned to fish. A little small swim bait. I fished a lot. And I would bring between 5 and 6 rods to pretty much any tournament.
Yeah.
And then just so I would have options. And sometimes it would be like 2 Texas rigs tied on, 2 different sizes, weights. That way I didn't have to retie constantly if I wanted to change a weight size. And then I had just one big co-angler bag and I had my boxes in it all organized. And that's what I would bring. Bring my
respectful. I will bring no gear.
Monster and my water and Gatorade. And sometimes I'd bring a sandwich wrap or something, but for the most part, I don't really eat on the boat.
Right.
Did you ever, how did it work with co-angler? Did you pay for gas? Did you bring them like breakfast or stuff like that? How did it work with?
I usually would offer to pick up like, hey, I'm going to stop at the convenience store. Do you want me to get you any drinks, any snacks, any ice? In Texas, a lot of times we need ice for the fish. And usually they would have taken care of all of that already. And so I just give them gas money. And the amount just kind of depended on how our day went,
Listen, I will not give.
Sucked.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
You got stuck on the sandbar.
Not based on whether I caught fish, but based on if we're fishing cove, or if we're running the lake. I mean, there's a
you got
difference.
us stuck on a sandbar. You owe
You
me
ain't getting
$50.
Yeah.
You owe me $50, motherfucker.
No, I actually gave that guy gas money. But.
Listen, I will not give gas money. I will not be bringing food, or the only thing I'm going to bring is 1 rod, a bucket full of minnows. But what I will be bringing is a thing of eggs and a small Blackstone, and I will make breakfast when we make the first run. When we go out, the only thing I'm going to drink is Busch lattes, but I will not be paying for gas at all unless we have a nappy time halfway through the tournament.
You should just catch the crappie and fillet them right there. Like,
or the bass. Fuck it. Like, I want to be like,
he's going to be 4-pound bass and he puts it in a live well. And 10 minutes later, he looks in the back and Alex is filleting his 4-pound bass.
It's going to be so good.
Like, this is going to be lunch, baby.
And he's like, wait, which live well do you get it from?
Yours.
The only one with fish in it? He looks in the other one. It's just got all my minnows in it. It's just floating in the live well. Listen, I'm out there. Bring back the co-angler, but you have to be a bad co-angler.
Alex, if you ever did this, you did this, which you will never do.
Yeah, I don't like tournaments.
But if you did, this would be the funniest shit ever. If you leave the boat, there's dip and glow everywhere. You brought one rod. You got a fucking griddle back there. You got minnows floating in the live well dead.
Yeah.
One of my very good friends spilled a whole bottle of dip and glow on a seat one time as a co-angler, and he felt horrible.
Yeah, because that shit does not come out.
It does. He was sitting pretty high up from the day before, and he just it ruined his day. Like he could not fish after that.
Yeah,
it felt awful. It doesn't. You can actually get it out. I mean, dip and glow, you can get out.
But the co-angler's not doing it. The guy's gonna have to go do that, or whoever's driving the boat, right? So I can imagine on the ride home.
To pay to get his seats professionally cleaned.
Like, all right.
How do you get it out? How do you get it out? How do you get dip and glow out?
They make like sprays and stuff.
No shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it'll fade. I mean, in the sun, it'll fade over time anyways, but yeah.
Tiffany, you're in Texas. Not everybody gets sun 385
I know.
days out of the year.
Thank you. Again, another thank you. She's just like,
really great.
It's sunny. Sometimes we need ice for the fish because we catch so many, and we need to have cold beers when we're getting them. That's why we get the extra ice. When we get done, we just go down to the pond for some real casual 12-pound bass fishing. We just catch 12-pounders on the regular.
Hey, what are you drinking there, Tiffany?
It's called Austin East Cider. It's like it's local.
It's a cider?
It's a cider, and this is a brute, super dry cider.
Oof.
What does that mean? What's a super dry cider?
It's super dry cider. You dipshit.
So cider that's super dry. It's a brute, like a brute champagne.
Yeah, okay. I like.
He don't know that. He's from North Carolina, girl. He don't know any of that.
In other words, it's not a sweet cider. It's like a dry cider.
I like that. Fuck ciders suck unless I want them to burn going down.
That's what.
All right. Well, Tiffany, I hope.
Hold on. I have another question, bitch.
Hurry it up.
I forgot it now. Thanks.
Oops, I went too high. Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on.
No, wait, stop.
It's got to be. Go ahead, make it quick.
You have to show her what Nate. Show her the picture because she's never seen.
What?
She's never seen the whatchamacallit.
Oh.
Looking in the glass. This is okay.
No.
Yeah, show the picture.
I don't know what he's talking about, Tiffany.
Oh, Tiffany did not do the aliens.
Yeah.
Question. That's it.
What is that?
That's
it's
what
Paul.
Nate looks like when you're in the shower.
It's weird.
Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on. We wish you all the luck this year. Definitely stay in touch. And anybody you want to shout out, anything before we end here?
Yeah, shout out to all of my sponsors. Yamamoto, Bill Lewis, Buckeye Lures, Frog Factory, Shimano, and BassBoatWire.com. And if you need any electronics, like those ones I described, you can go to BassBoatWire. And they have everything you need or kayak.
I need to talk to you about some Bill Lewis because the best rattle traps out there, and it's rattle trap season in North Carolina, baby.
All right, everybody. You guys have a great week or day or whatever it is. Just don't be an asshole. We'll see you on the next one.
Go fuck yourself.